Hey everybody, welcome to Kimmel's Irish Pub. Time for another movie review. Three Identical Strangers. It's a documentary. I don't normally watch documentaries, but I thought it might intrigue some of my subscribers or some people to watch my review on it. And obviously it did if you're watching this. So Three Identical Strangers is about three people, three men, who grew up in New York in the 1980s, who were all adopted. But then later find out that they were, they're all identical twins or identical brothers, I guess twins, yeah. They're adopted, they're separated, and then they come back together and find out that they're all brothers. So then they try and figure out why. Like, why were they given away, I guess, in a sense, and why were they adopted, you know, and there's a lot of mystery and intrigue in this. From what I gather from IMDb, I mean, it has a 7.7 rating, over 11,000 reviews on this. So they say it's really good, at least, you know, obviously by the star. So I'm going to check it out. I have to watch the documentary. I'm not a big fan, but I'll see what it's about. It's probably going to be very interesting. It's an hour and 36 minutes. I'll get into it. Maybe I'll try and give you a better idea of what it's really about, and then tell you what I ultimately think. So stick around. I'll be back. Hey everybody, I want to do a quick check-in here. We're watching Three Identical Strangers. We're at the 40-minute, 3-second mark. And I tell you what, it's really entertaining. The whole first part, and the reason I stopped it here is it's starting to change the direction here, and I wanted to catch it before it changes. But the whole first part is them discovering each other. And honestly, I mean, within 5 minutes of watching this film, I got goosebumps. The hair stood up on my arm. It's like a really great story, you know, on how these guys found each other. And, you know, like coincidentally, just, you know, working it out. And it gets to the point where, you know, that they come together as brothers, you know, they find each other and then they build a relationship together that I'm thinking it might be fake. You know what I mean? Like they're doing it for a bigger purpose. Not that it's fake. I mean, I believe that there were three identical triplets that were separated at birth and have found each other, but that their relationships, you know, grew that tight that quickly. That's the part I was thinking was fake. But it's not. They continue to move forward, you know, as brothers, as friends. They move in together. They start businesses together. They start relationships, not together, but like in their lives, and they stay connected. So it's like, okay, so that wasn't fake. That was the only piece of it, but otherwise it was just amazing to see them come, you know, find each other. And like I said, I mean, goosebumps the whole time. My arm hairs must have grown like a foot now, because it just keeps happening when I'm watching this. Now, what's going to transition to is, why did it happen? How did it happen? Why were they separated? You know, the common thing would be, well, the mother and the father didn't want babies, whatever, and they, you know, sent them out for adoption. But there's going to be more of a conspiracy theory that twins separated at birth have some psychological things happen to them, so they do this on purpose with somebody. That's where they're kind of leading you here with the story they're about to tell. We don't know anything. They have met their mother. Not a lot of details on that yet, but there's I believe a professor, I think he's a professor, whatever, who has now found a study that people have done this. They have taken identical twins, identical triplets, and separated them to see what happens. Not too much more into that, but you can see, and the adoption agency is playing a big role in this. So this adoption agency is the reason, or the conduit, or the whatever it is, to allow this kind of thing to happen. And they were all, you know, from this adoption agency. And there's this one part that they keep going back to. No spoiler alert here, but they're, you know, when the parents of the triplets went in to find this adoption agency and meet with them and find out who their true mother was, some guy goes back into the room after they left to get like his umbrella, and they're popping champagne as though they kind of got away with something. So that's where we are so far. There's still a little bit to go, just under an hour, but I think it's really going to get even more interesting. So stick around. I'll keep going here. If anything interesting happens, I'll pop back in. If not, I'll see you at the credits. But so far, fantastic. You got to check it out, even if you don't like documentaries. I'll be back in a bit. Hey everybody, we're at the credits of Three Identical Strangers, and I don't know what's left to say. I mean, this is a very fascinating story. I've mentioned many times, I think, so far, that I don't really normally watch documentaries, but this one really was very interesting. I might have to start watching more of them. The beginning of it I liked the best. The beginning of it, of them bringing them together, and then as it moves into the conspiracy theory, I'm saying conspiracy theory, I don't know, might not, or the reason behind them being separated at birth, it was very, very interesting. I felt they spent a lot of time on it that I didn't think was necessary. It didn't excite me as much as the beginning, but we understand that they are separated at birth, and this documentary explains to you why that was done, and they allude to it. I think I mentioned too the fact that it was done based on a scientific experiment, and it's truly trying to determine nature versus nurture. You know, can you change somebody and who they're eventually going to become by changing the environment that they're raised in, how they're nurtured as they grow. And that's what ultimately this experiment was supposed to do. And it's interesting to see what happens. Now, I don't want to talk any more about it because I don't want to ruin that for you, because I think there's some things that you want to find out on your own. And it's weird because I don't have to talk about the acting or anything like that, but the brothers are in it, and they do a lot of the narration, but they interview members of the family, the wives, everybody throughout the entire, from 19, whatever they were born in, I remember the date, but whatever, in the 60s, they met in the 80s, and then it continued on from there. So extremely fascinating. If you're not very much into documentaries, this might be a good one for you if this interests you at all. I think it's very interesting for people who were adopted, because here these three gentlemen were adopted, and here they come to find out they're all brothers, a long lost brother. So I bet you that's really interesting for other, maybe even a little scary, I don't know, but either way, it's I think it's worth the hour and a half that you put into it to watch it, and find out about this. Maybe you already knew about it. I didn't. I never heard about this before, but was very interested in it, and it opened me up to maybe considering watching more documentaries. That's how intrigued I was, and they do a good job of keeping you interested throughout the entire film. So I don't want to labor it on. I think the best part for me, again, was the first half and seeing them find each other and how that happened. The second half was still interesting, but I got the point right away, and I didn't need the other, probably 30 minutes of the film. I get it. But you can't make it that short. Anyway, that's enough for me. Check it out. Absolutely. Let me know what you think. Even if you don't like documentaries, if you haven't watched one ever before, check it out. If you do like documentaries, check it out. Whatever, just check it out. Check it out. Alright, that's it. So, and if you do, leave me comments, of course. Like my page, subscribe, whatever. And thanks for tuning in. Kimmel's Irish Pub.